How to behave on a date so you have the chance of getting a second date. Hi guys, my name is Christine Loveridge and I am a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today we are talking about how you should behave on a date so you can make the chances higher of you getting a second date. So basically you don't want to mess up a first date because first impressions are really important, especially if this is someone that you've met online and you haven't really known previously. So if this is like the first time you're actually meeting them, you definitely need to pay attention to these things. So the first thing that you want to make sure that you do is you want to make sure that the vibe of the date is a positive one. So this means not being a negative Nelly talking about all your problems. If a problem does happen to come up, then just put a positive spin on it. Don't get to, tell them how much this situation in your life is defeating you and it's making you miserable. Just basically either try and avoid the topic, or if the topic does come up, just try and make it positive, say something like, yeah, this is happening right now, but I feel like I'm growing from the situation and I know it's going to help me down the road at some point. So, and that's all you can say, that's all you have to say, that's all you need to say. You don't need to elaborate and talk about negative things a lot. So just make sure that you try and keep the vibe of the date light, positive, happy and enjoyable. You also want to make sure that you avoid any serious topics of discussion like politics, religion, anything too sexual. Obviously it's okay to be flirtatious, but don't be immature about it. Make sure that if you are to make a sexual innuendo, make sure that it's, something that is actually funny and not something that's going to make you come across as immature. And, obviously it's okay to be a little bit immature, but you need to get the balance right. And if you're too immature, they're just going to think that you're immature, they're not going to think that you're an adult. So don't, say anything that's so... Don't say anything like a 15-year-old would say. Say something adult. Again, if a serious topic does come up, something like politics or religion, then try to obviously, again, put a positive spin on it. Don't try to be negative about it. Don't get too deep into the conversation so you start having an argument, because when you're in the dating world, you are going to come across people that have different political views than you, different religious views than you. And to be honest, I think when it comes to politics and when it comes to religion, it's a very personal experience and you shouldn't be trying to convert anyone. So definitely don't try to preach or convert anyone to a specific politician or political view or ideology or religion. It's just going to end up badly. It really will. So because at this point you don't really know. I mean, this is something that you talk about maybe later on in a relationship. You don't bring up these topics on a first date because it's going to change the vibe if you get into an argument about it. And you may be lucky, you might find someone who has the same kind of views as you, but if I were you, I would try to avoid any of this kind of talk on the first date because it's going to change the vibe of the date, and you want to remember that the vibe that you want to put into the date should be a positive and light-hearted one. When these serious topics come up, it's not fun. It makes things not very fun anymore, and you want to make sure that the person you're on a date with is having a good time, that they're having fun. You don't want to kill the vibe by bringing up anything like that. And if they happen to bring it up, just say something short and sweet and then just leave it at that. There's no need to elaborate and no need to convert or do anything like that. Because when you're on the first date, you just want to make sure that it's an enjoyable and fun experience for you both. And you don't want to be bringing up any serious topics because it's just going to kill the vibe. Also, when you are on a date, don't bring up the topic of having a second date unless they bring it up first. So if they bring it up first, then yeah, sure, then you can discuss a second date. But don't bring up having a second date. Wait for them to do it first. Especially if let's say you're masculine and this person who you're on a date with is very feminine, leave it up to them. Because you don't want to be pushing them into something that they may not want right away, because you don't really know what's going on in their head. Even though they might be displaying positive signs, that doesn't mean that they actually really do like you. You won't be able to tell if they actually really do like you until, you know, a few weeks down the line. So don't assume that they really, really like you and that they really want a second date, because you just don't know. They might be very good at faking how much good of a time they're having. So don't bring it up, because it may make them feel uncomfortable, and you don't want them to feel uncomfortable. You want them to feel relaxed. You want them to feel happy. You want them to feel like they're having a good time, and they don't want you to put pressure on them for having another second date. Don't pressure them into giving you an answer straight away to have a second date. So the best thing you can do is just don't bring up the topic of a second date at all. The next time you should be bringing up the topic of having a second date is a few days after your first date, and that's when you can ask them out again. Typically, the best time you want to wait is after the first date, is to not message them for about 4 or 5 days unless they message you first about a second date. But really, you want to be waiting 4 or 5 days before you ask them out again. So make sure that you do that. Also, you want to make sure that you have multiple places that you can go to, because this will speed up the dating process. Just going out to dinner is not going to be enough. Especially avoid going anywhere like a cinema on a first date, or like a noisy club, because if you go to a cinema or a noisy club, you're not going to have that much time to talk, and basically you want to make sure that you have plenty of time to talk to each other. So make sure that if you are going on a first date, that it's somewhere where you can have a chat, so like in a restaurant, and make sure that you have other places that you can go to afterwards. So you might want to go somewhere and have a walk. So if there's like a river nearby, you can go and have a little walk around the river and have another chat, or you can go to somewhere, a different restaurant, or you can go somewhere for a quiet, intimate drink. You know, just have a bunch of places that you can go to that are close by, so you can make the dating process much longer, and it'll be more interesting because you'll be going to multiple places. And basically that will give off the feeling of having multiple dates, because you're meeting each other, or you're around each other in different settings, and that makes it seem like there's more dates going on. So have 3 or 4 other places in mind that you can go to after the first initial place where you meet, and that will really help speed along the dating process and make it a more fun and enjoyable and memorable experience for the person you're on a date with. So again, I'm going to bring up more emphasis on the vibe. Make sure that you are making it a positive, fun, light-hearted experience for you both. Don't bring up anything that is miserable, and don't be a negative Nelly when you're on the date either. So if you've got a lot of stuff going on, let's say you're not getting on very well in school if you're a student, or let's say you might be going through like a heavy divorce or something like that, try to avoid talking about these things. And if they, like I said, if they do get brought up, then of course try and make it positive. Don't try and make it a depressing, this horrible experience for the person, okay? Even if you are really struggling and really sad, there's no reason that you need to bring them down. And if you bring them down and you're saying all these negative stuff, they're not going to want to go out on another date with you, even if you are genuinely sad. But just because you're genuinely sad, that doesn't give you the right to also make them feel miserable. So don't do it. Just make it a fun experience. And why would you want to bring up the serious topics that are going on in your life anyway? You want to go there to relax and enjoy yourself. It's a date after all. So just make it fun, make it enjoyable. Don't bring up anything serious. Don't be a negative Nelly. If you've got something negative to say, try and put something, try and make it positive in some way. Just say that it's helping you grow. You want to make sure, and if you do all those things and you do those things correctly, you will have a higher chance of getting a second date, because they would have enjoyed the experience. I mean, if you are having a date and you're making it as fun and enjoyable as possible, they're going to associate these enjoyable feelings with you and going out with you. So if you make it a nice experience and they have a good feeling about the date and they enjoyed themselves, they're going to want to do it again. Of course, everyone likes to keep on doing things that they enjoy. So if you make it an enjoyable experience for them, it's more likely that they will go on a second date with you because they enjoyed themselves. If you'd like help with me personally, then go to www.christineloveridge.com/shop, or alternatively, you can use the email address provided in this video's description box and we can work something out that way. And I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye, guys.